Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're talking about a new Super Nintendo game, Unholy Night, The Darkness Hunter. This is made by Foxbat, published by Blaze Pro. Let's take a look here. Packaged like a standard Super Nintendo game. Looks pretty neat. We got the manual here. Love getting manuals. The manual's pretty thorough. You know, it goes over controls, a little bit of the story, has some information on the modes, and then, you know, the moves of the fighters and whatnot. Pretty nice, you know. I'll say that's the biggest plus out of this whole thing is, despite what you say about this game, it does have an awesome manual. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then taking a look at the actual cartridge, it's shaped like a Super Famicom or a PAL released game, not a standard Super Nintendo US release, but it fits in any Super Nintendo. So without further ado, let's plug this bad boy in and check her out. See what to do. Okay, guys, what better way to talk about this game than to just play it, you know? So there's a little bit of a backstory to this game. Not about the game necessarily, but about the development and how they plan to get this out to people. So originally this was a Kickstarter that failed. They didn't even get half of what they were asking for, which essentially their Kickstarter wasn't even to develop the game. It was just a pre-order system to get the game. Like, they'd already made it, is the way it read to me and from the news articles that I'd read. And I just thought that was crazy. But there's, you know, a little bit of a pedigree behind the people who are working on this. Ex-SNK staffers who had worked on Samurai Shodown and a few other franchises from SNK that I really dig. But I don't understand how and why this game came to be in the condition that it's in. So you have 6 characters, and a lot of people have complained about that. No big deal. I honestly, I don't care that there's only 6. Of course, it would have been cool to be there be more, but you're just gonna see just right off the bat. So obviously, our animation here is a little stiff and choppy. And here's the other thing. Just like most SNK fighters, or any SNK Neo Geo games anyway, the games only had 4 buttons. They only used 4 buttons. So check this out. I'm hitting my heavy attack, and I'm the girl Emily. So I'm hitting my heavy attack. Now I'm hitting my medium attack. Now I'm hitting my light attack. It's like they all do the same thing. And I'm just tapping it once. I'm not mashing it. So that to me, with like this character especially, I've seen other characters, because I've played this for a few hours. Not all the characters are like that, but this character, the one that I was initially interested in playing as, her attacks for, you know, light, medium, and heavy all look the same. I'm sure they do more damage, you know, depending on if you're doing heavy, but just your base attacks just don't. It's like they cheaped out and they didn't finish the game. It's odd to me. There's a bunch of moves and stuff, and I think it is pretty cool. You know, there's the beginning of a decent fighting engine behind this, but I feel like they just never bothered to finish the game, and they just put it out there. Kickstarter failed, so maybe, you know, maybe if the Kickstarter succeeded, maybe they would have done a little more with the game. But from what I understand, it was just they needed the money to manufacture the cartridges. So to me, it sounded like the game was complete, and this is what they originally intended on shipping. So this got put out there in the cool packaging like I showed you, and I think it's pretty awesome. The instruction booklet, the box, the way the cartridge looks, it's all really cool. But the game is just, it's incomplete. You know, the background's very static. You know, yeah, there's multiple layers to them, but there's no movement. And I could get over that, but then at the same time, the music soundtrack to the game, I've only heard maybe 2 different songs. They kind of wear thin on you. They're not that amazing. And I know most people don't really care about the music in fighting games. I don't really care that much either, but they just don't sound that great. And the variety, you know, it's just going to bleed into your ear, where both of the songs that they play just sound the same anyway. At least for me. If the soundtrack was a little more varied, that would be cool, but that's not what makes or breaks the game, obviously. The graphics just, they look okay. But when you compare this to an actual SNK game on the Super Nintendo, for example, the original Samurai Shodown was released on the Super Nintendo, and it was a game that I loved Samurai Shodown. So I didn't own a Neo Geo when I was a youngster. Couldn't afford one. I still can't afford one. What? Who would have thought? But playing Samurai Shodown in the arcade, I remember playing it at Walmarts all the time too. Like, Walmarts used to have like arcade machines. I don't think they do so much anymore. Maybe like claw machines and stuff, but not arcade games. But I remember this one Walmart that I used to live kind of near. They had Samurai Shodown, and I used to play it all the time. And when it was released on the Super Nintendo, it was like, what? Let me grab that. And it was a very competent port of the game for the Super Nintendo. This is an original game. And yeah, they're SNK staffers, ex-SNK staffers, but I think these guys, they might have been staffers, but I think they were let go. I don't think they were successful with the company, because this game is just sloppy, half-baked, in my opinion. The frame rate, the choppiness, I mean, you couldn't competitively play this game. This would be a joke right here. Nobody would think of putting this into any kind of league of competitive fighters. There's just no way. The moves are so limited. Like I said, with this character, not all 6 characters are like this, but this one particular character, which was the first one I played as, all 3 of her base attacks look the same. And that's ridiculous to me. There's other characters that are similar, and then there's some where their attacks look a little different, but you just have to, you know, if you're trying to do combos and stuff like that, you're going to use your base attacks. But this, I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, you have special moves. You have a synchro gauge, I think is what they call it, to build up to do some special attacks. And they are pretty neat, don't get me wrong. But it really does come off half-baked as far as the moves, the way they're animated anyway. I mean, each character has plenty of moves. I'm not complaining about that. But their base attacks, the animation is just not cool. And then the AI, the computer-controlled opponents, some of them will stand there. And I heard another reviewer state this, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. There's no way. And there were so many matches that I played that the computer-controlled opponent just stood there and let me wail on him and didn't do a dang thing. Like, I've beaten this game maybe like 4 times already, and it really doesn't take long. There's only 6 characters and then a boss. But each time I've played, I've experienced that with different characters, where you'll have a fight where the character is just like, he just stands there and just wants to be punished. He wants to get his butt whooped. And then there's other times where it's like, what the heck is, you know, just cheap, like extremely cheap. And it's like, what the heck is this opponent doing? And it's not like a gradual build up to getting harder and harder. It's just random, it seems, because the first time I played this, I played as Emily. And out of all the fights that I had, they were all easy. Most of the characters didn't do any moves. They just stood there for the most part. The only character I had a problem with was fighting myself, fighting Emily. And she just wailed on me. Like, it was just nuts. I was like, how the heck is the difficulty jump up like that? It was just crazy to see that all these opponents just stand there, don't know what the heck they're doing. I just beat them, then I fight myself, and I just get my ass handed to me out of nowhere. The other thing too that I've seen is the translation. I don't know how many people really play these games for the story. I really don't. I mean, I've always been interested in Street Fighter, you know, so I have paid attention to the story with that. But most of the time with fighting games, we don't really care about the story so much. It's the gameplay mechanics, the fighting system. And this, it's just, the story is just incoherent because the translation is really bad. They did not have a good translator on their team, it appears. It's just really broken. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense. And it just comes off odd. And sometimes the text just goes by so quick. If you even wanted to read the broken English, you couldn't, you know. But that's where I'm at with this game. I'm playing it while I'm talking, so I know it's kind of, you know, difficult to multitask, but I just wanted to show you, you know, look at the way this game functions, the way it moves, the animation, the frame rate. The art style is not bad. I don't mind it, but I just wish this was a lot more fluid. Now, this game was released after the Kickstarter failed, so they wound up just producing it anyway. So why even bother having a Kickstarter? But you can get this right now on Amazon, and as of the recording of this, it's back up to $50. I wouldn't buy it. I'll put a link in the description if you want to peep it out. But if you're interested in getting this game, despite the negativity that it's received, and, you know, from what you're seeing here as I play it, if you're still interested, I wouldn't buy it at $50. They have occasionally dropped it down to $20. When I bought it, I actually had a promotional credit of $10, and the game was down to $20, and I got it for about $10 plus tax. So that was cool. I'm happy with that. I can't complain. But for $50, heck no, man. This game is not a $50 game. You look at games that were released on the Super Nintendo in the 90s that were fighting games that functioned, moved, and looked and felt a lot better than this. And it's like, don't cash in on our nostalgia. I'm an SNK fan. I love their fighting games. I love all the stuff they did back in the day, including the games that they ported to the Super Nintendo. So to harken back to the nostalgia of that time and put out a half-baked game like this and charge $50 for it, even after your failed Kickstarter, come on, man. There's some fun to be had in this game, don't get me wrong. I've actually, like I said, I've played it for a couple hours, I'm not gonna lie. I've beaten it a few times. And if the game was just total garbage, I would have not played it for more than 10 minutes. But it's just, there's so many glaring issues with it. But I, for some strange reason, have still found some fun out of it. You know, I don't know what to say, but if you can grab this at $20 and you're interested, go for it. $50, I would say it's a pass. Even at $20, it's kind of like, I don't know. But it's still cool to play a new game on the Super Nintendo. The NES gets a lot of love. There's all the time there's new releases, not homebrews, but like new releases coming out for the NES from companies who know what they're doing. And the Super Nintendo doesn't see that as often. So I think it's pretty sweet, but hey, this is just my opinion on this game. There's some fun to be had, but ultimately I would say pass if you're going to have to spend too much on it. Currently, I have not seen, I don't think there's a ROM out there of this game as of yet. Typically, the people who dump these games try to show respect to the developers and not dump a game that's recently released. And this was only released, you know, a handful of months ago. So I don't know if there's a ROM out there. I haven't seen one. But if there is, hey, check it out before you buy it. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's it. That's it, guys. I wish this was a winner. But if I were to give a number score to this game out of 5, I would give it a 2.5 for the effort. I mean, I had a little bit of fun with it. I got my money's worth. But like I said, I only spent about $10, so what? So I hope you guys appreciate checking this out. Smash that like button if you could. Really would appreciate it. And with that said, I will catch you guys next time. Boom!